Have you ever felt the strange heaviness of something you kept putting off? That small task, that dream you promised to start, that conversation you knew you needed to have. It sits quietly in the corner of your mind, growing heavier with each passing day. Not because it is difficult, but because you keep telling yourself, I will do it tomorrow. In a small town nestled between gentle hills and flowing rivers, there lived a young man named Jake. He was kind. He was thoughtful. He had dreams like everyone else. But Jake carried something unusual with him wherever he went. An invisible weight. A burden that no one could see, but he could feel every single moment. Every night before sleeping, Jake would make promises to himself. Tomorrow I will start. Tomorrow I will go to the garage and fix the lawnmower. Tomorrow I will help my mom with the garden. Tomorrow I will finally write the first page of that book I always wanted to write. And every morning, when the sun rose and the birds began to sing, Jake would stretch in his bed and whisper the same dangerous words. Maybe tomorrow. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. The list of things he left for tomorrow grew longer and longer. But instead of feeling lighter, Jake began to feel crushed. The weight of all those unfinished tasks, all those pending responsibilities, all those broken promises to himself, they sat on his chest like a heavy stone. One evening, as the sun painted the sky in shades of orange and pink, Jake sat by the river. His heart was heavy. His mind was restless. He watched the water flow freely, carrying leaves and memories without any effort. He wished he could be like that water. Free. Light. Unburdened. An old woman named Margaret lived at the edge of town. Everyone called her Grandma Maggie. She was known for her wisdom and her silence. She spoke rarely, but when she did, her words carried the weight of years. That evening, she was walking back from the river with a small bucket of water. She saw Jake sitting alone, his head bowed, his shoulders slumped. She stopped. She did not speak. She simply sat beside him. Minutes passed in silence. The river sang its gentle song. The crickets began their evening chorus. Finally, Maggie spoke. What is it that you are carrying, Jake? Jake looked up, surprised by her presence. He had not heard her approach. He sighed deeply, the kind of sigh that carries years of exhaustion. I don't know, Maggie. I feel so heavy. There is so much I need to do. So much I keep putting off. But I never start. And the more I wait, the heavier it becomes. Maggie smiled gently. She picked up a small stone and placed it in Jake's palm. Hold this, she said. Jake held the stone. It was light. Almost nothing. Maggie picked up another stone. And another. And another. She kept placing them in his palm, one by one. Soon, Jake's hand was full. The stones began to spill. His arms started shaking from the weight. What is happening? Jake asked. These stones are your tomorrows, Maggie said softly. One stone is light. 2 stones are manageable. But when you keep adding more and more tomorrows without acting on them, they pile up. And one day, they become too heavy to carry. Jake looked at the stones in his hand. He understood. Maggie continued. The water in this river flows because it does not wait. It does not say, I will flow tomorrow. It moves now. It carries what it can today and leaves the rest. That is why it is light. That is why it is free. She stood up slowly, her old bones creaking. She looked at Jake with eyes full of kindness. You are not weak, Jake. You are just carrying yesterday's tomorrows. Empty your hands. Start with one thing. Just one. Today. Not tomorrow. Today. Maggie walked away, leaving Jake alone with the stones and the river and the growing darkness. That night, Jake could not sleep. He kept looking at the pile of stones Maggie had placed in his hand. He kept hearing her words. Start with one thing. Just one. Today. When the first light of dawn crept through his window, Jake did something different. He did not stretch and say maybe tomorrow. He got up. He walked to the backyard where the old fence was broken. He picked up a hammer and a nail. And he fixed one broken plank. Just one. It took him 10 minutes. When he finished, he stood back and looked at that one fixed plank. It was small. It was insignificant. But something inside him shifted. The weight on his chest felt just a little lighter. That evening, he helped his mom carry groceries from the car. The next morning, he went to the garage and finally wrote the first sentence of his book. One small task at a time. Day by day. The pile of unfinished things began to shrink. And with each completed task, Jake felt something he had forgotten was possible. Freedom. Months passed. The broken fence was now fully repaired. The garage was organized. His book had 20 pages. His mom smiled more. His heart felt lighter. The invisible weight that had crushed him for years was gone. One evening, Jake returned to the river. He sat at the same spot where Maggie had found him. But this time, he was not slumped. He was not heavy. He watched the water flow and smiled. Maggie appeared again, as if she knew he would be there. She sat beside him without a word. I understand now, Maggie, Jake said softly. The wait was never the work. The wait was the waiting. Maggie nodded slowly. You have learned the lesson that most people spend their whole lives avoiding. Tomorrow is not a promise. It is a trap. The only moment you truly have is now. Jake looked at his hands. They were no longer empty. They were calloused from work. They were tired from doing. But they were light. Years later, Jake became known in the town as a man who got things done. People would come to him for advice. They would ask him, how do you do so much without feeling tired? Jake would smile and pick up a small stone. He would place it in their palm. Hold this, he would say. This is your today. It is light. It is easy. Do not wait for tomorrow to add more stones. Do what you can, now. And you will never feel the weight of tomorrow. Now think about your own life. How many stones are you carrying? How many tomorrows have piled up in your hands, crushing your spirit, stealing your peace? That dream you keep pushing. That conversation you keep avoiding. That small task you keep delaying. They are not heavy because they are difficult. They are heavy because you have not done them. The secret is simple. Start. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Not next month. Now. One small thing. Just one. And then another. And another. The weight will disappear. Not because the work is gone. But because the waiting is gone. Tomorrow is a myth. It never comes. The only thing that ever arrives is today. And today, right now, is asking you to put down the weight. Do not wait. The river does not wait. The sun does not wait. The flowers do not wait to bloom. Why should you? Start now. And feel how light life becomes when you stop carrying the weight of tomorrow.